Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pissed today because it's all about who you know when it comes to the rule of law. It's all about your proximity to power. If you've got juice, if you've got hookups, if you've got connects, you can goddamn get away with anything in the United States of America. If you are a person of color, you're probably going to have to suffer. You're probably going to have to do the time. You're not going to get any breaks. You're going to do more time than your white counterparts would do. All this stuff is documented, folks. You can do the research on your own. But if you've got connections, if you've got proximity to power, you can get away with anything. As we watch Ghislaine Maxwell get slow walked to a pardon, get put in, we have a sex predator that's now being housed at a facility that's holding, let's see, white collar criminals, a real housewife of Salt Lake City, other people who've committed fraud. These are people who you get a rating when you go into the penal system. These are people who are rated zero chance for violence. Those are the people who are at this camp that Ghislaine is in, and she's on her way to a pardon because she can hang so much over so many powerful people's heads. Good thing is the victims are now speaking up. Brock Ganeles joins us from a high atop the Hudson River Valley with a perch on a president who's gone batty. All right, Brock, let's get into it. First of all, this Ghislaine Maxwell thing has me pissed. You know, they pretend to care about the victims, right? Child sexual assault victims, and nobody's doing shit to protect them. I feel so bad for the Roberts Giuffre family. You know, I keep seeing that interview with her brother, who just, after Trump made that comment about how she was stolen, and it's disgusting. It's disgusting that people will pardon these kinds of heinous acts. That's my southern accent. In order to save themselves. Nobody here is concerned about doing anything right. The head of the FBI, Kash Patel, he's not concerned about it. Bongino's not concerned about it. Trump damn sure ain't concerned about it. And the DOJ won't even pick up the phone for these victims.
Well, will the DOJ even pick up the letter from Congress telling them, quote, mandating that they release the Epstein files? Will Pam Bondi even open that envelope? And is there an enforcement capability to force her? Everyone's so excited that James Comer and that committee voted, to release the files, but something tells me that letter will sit in the circular file underneath Pam Bondi's desk, and that's not going to get executed.
If it was even sent at all. I mean, I don't believe anything they say until it actually happens. The victims don't want these transcripts. Well, they do and they don't, right? Because this is not a case closed, right? Remember, the 2008 agreement somehow stated that anyone involved in that sex trafficking operation would not face future prosecution, including Ghislaine Maxwell. So if Ghislaine was prosecuted, right, why can't the other 200 and some odd John Does in there, including John Doe 173, be prosecuted? Right? Like, why can't they be prosecuted? This makes no sense to me. It's because I was this or because nobody cares that I was on television before. Nobody gives a damn that you worked on Wall Street. It's what kind of proximity to power do you have? If we needed to get somebody off of some serious crime, who would we turn to? What, the mayor of Kingstown if it happened in Michigan? Like, what do? We suck it up and just have to take it and let the system hopefully have mercy. But now, look at the pardons that have been granted by this lunatic, right? Just the January 6ers, first of all, right? These guys beat the hell out of police officers, right? See, now if I'm a police officer on the Capitol Police Force, right, I'm using my gun next time. Next time the QAnon crazies show up, the MAGA crazies, I'm going to start dumping. You know, if I dump a couple of clips out there, we'll get some people running the other way. Or we will see what people are really made of. You know, who's really afraid not to die? Because that's what these people understand. These people don't understand the spank on the wrist. They don't get it. They don't get it. Trump doesn't get it either because he's always gotten away with it. But he needs to be held accountable, and so do the rest of these clowns.
Not only is no one even pursuing anything relative to the Epstein case, but now DOJ is talking about looking into Obama and the administration from what, six? Something like that? That
Yeah.
we're talking like six,
Yeah.
you know?
Revisionist history.
Yeah, and
You
then
know?
we know there's nothing there either, right?
Yeah.
This is smoke screen. This is a smoke screen game.
To wag the dog. You know, the next thing that's going to come is a hail of bombs. You know, what can he bomb next? Right? What can he do? The guy is out on a roof today, Brock, taking questions from the press corps. Right? Who let the old man out and let him wander onto the White House? About 10 people got fired today. Right? With this guy standing on the roof, not even close to the press corps. You know, I saw some YouTube video, and the videographer pulled back, and you're a full drive, the arced driveway away from the roof. And then what? You're 30, 40 feet up in the air. And he's screaming down, everything I do is financed by me. It's my money to spend for the American. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Well, he was trying to make up for. He had a terrible morning when he called into CNBC and got, kind of looked like a total buffoon. So, like, I mean, we talked about yesterday is Trump in decline? And I think, like, we asked that question yesterday. I think we both answered yes. We felt like he'd sort of like jumped the shark a bit, right? He's on this down. He still has a ton of power, but like he's just being made fun. Maybe it started a few weeks ago where he's being made fun of, and then the Epstein thing hit in, and then like he's kind of had a bit of a punching bag aspect to him, right? A lot of people were just poking fun at him,
Right.
and then now he's obviously been babbling for a while, but like this morning's. Like his Q&A on CNBC was just disastrous because he was off on and they love him. Joe Kernan, right? They're all positive on Trump. They've been
Huge
boosting
Trumpers.
him for years, but I mean, he just out and out lied about the labor statistics of when they were revised last year, and Kernan called him on it, and then he couldn't lie his way out of it, so he just shifted gears and or hung up. So yeah, he really can't answer to any questions now, even from friendlies.
Right.
So, like, you really can't get through really any discussion without looking really foolish. But, I think that's part of why he was yelling from the rooftop is like he's always trying to change the narrative whenever anything goes against him. So,
Right.
I think that was an attempt. It was a bad attempt, though. I mean, it was
horrible.
Bad visual.
It was horrible. And he's joking about building nuclear missiles. I mean, first of all, explain to us why you're up on the roof. What are you looking for? Right? I know you're not shooting an action movie. So what are you doing up there? And, first of all, the guy's got his tie on. He's got, what looks like a Secret Service agent with him. And you just look crazy. You look and sound crazy. The CNBC thing, I thought they were going to cut him off. I figured Kernan would try to protect him as much of a Trump loyalist as he is. See, Kernan's issue is the numbers don't lie. Right? You got the ticker board going, bro. You can't sit there and lie. Although he does, a great job trying to bump for Trump. But it is ludicrous. And the amount of power that this cognitively dysfunctional human being, large orange tub of goo possesses right now is what's going to be the downfall of this democracy, of this republic. Think about how far we are falling behind nations like China. Did you see what China did their first 30 days? I think I put up a graphic for us. They had a high-speed light rail. They built another, solar powered or, clean energy facility, for half the country or something ridiculous. I mean, they had like 10 items they had completed in the first 30 days while Trump was out here talking crazy about these deportations.
And you saw what Duffy announced today is that we're going to build a nuclear facility on the moon.
Yeah.
We're going to be the first to do that. That's our priority right now. Oh, good luck with that fucking shit. Okay, send that up in one of Elon's missiles. Okay,
Right.
Good luck with
Right.
that. But going back to the Kiernan thing, he's not the producer, so he probably couldn't have cut Trump off. Right? Someone in the back would have had to done it. So he was trying to string along the interview. But Trump actually did something that bothered his cronies on Wall Street in the firing of the labor statistics woman, because if Trump is going to discredit any of the data, economic data that comes out, which he's doing now, and you can't trust any of the data, well, CNBC lives off of shit like that, because the labor statistics is 3 to 4 hours of coverage, maybe even an entire day of multiple guests and interviews and dissecting the data and digging in and then talking to a CEO from a specific sector that added jobs versus lost jobs. That's their programming for the day.
Yep.
So if the data itself is discredited and no one can believe the data anymore and it's all fabricated and propagandized, they've lost their product. That's their product.
So why would anyone watch?
Yeah, why would anyone watch? So Trump hurt CNBC in discrediting financial data, and instead of being a good story, now he threatens their future viewership because, like you just said, who's going to watch if no one believes any of this shit?
Right. And, and that's the thing, that Trump has no clue that he's doing that. He's just doing it out of the blue, right? He has no idea that he's just screwing people left and right, and that, people are hemorrhaging dough because of this guy, And I mean, this is the worst jobs report that we saw last Friday since right after COVID. And think about how, catastrophic COVID was on job creation, right? I mean, it was awful. And so the problem is, Brock, there's no adult in the room. There's no one to say, hey, let's get you under control here. Let's start doing some stuff that makes sense.
Not in this
and let's
administration.
get this thing back on track.
No one. There's no one in this administration.
Nobody.
It's a clown show. That's why Duffy's out talking about nuclear shit on the moon, and we can't even trust that we can land planes, right? I mean, here and now. We have no safety. Come on, stop with that bullshit. No one wants to hear that stuff. But that must have made Trump excited and made him think he's a leader for some. It's play to the audience of one and keep the Mad King happy for the day. Yep. Right? So they're all running around trying to keep the Mad King happy for the day. So Rubio's now instituting, some visas where it costs you $15,000 to get into the United States. So, by the way, that fucking tourism is already in decline, is dead. Come on, stop. Who the fuck's coming here?
Nobody's coming here.
So, that's a whole sector that is just thrown at risk in some idiotic announcement by Rubio. But he's just trying to please the Mad King. Duffy, please the Mad King. Bondi, please the Mad King. Lutnick, please the Mad King. Kristi Noem, please the Mad King, right? So they're just all running around doing stupid shit, but just shoveling shit at Trump that he's going to eat up. And that's our government right now.
Right. And that's scary. That's a scary prospect. Because who's running this thing, right? I know we're always the object of, terrorist cells around the world, people that hate the West, right? How vulnerable must we be right now with this clown cabinet, running the show? Oh my gosh, I was in the airport the other day, Brock, and I saw Kristi Noem's face pop up I immediately got ill, right? And I'm putting my grandson on the plane. He's flying by himself, and I'm like, oh my God, please, Lord, watch over this flight and get him safely home.
That's a scary moment. It's always scary, right? In this day and age, it's extra scary. But I'm under the thinking now that terrorist cells, this, that, the other, I would think our enemies don't even want to kick the hornet's nest because they're just watching us self-implode. Exactly. That why do something that may change the trajectory Trump is destroying America in a way that we could never do with any of our bombs or anything. Like, just
Right.
let this fucking guy ruin that
Let
country.
him kill it.
So no one's doing anything to antagonize us as a country right now because they're watching us just unwind.
Right. And it's sad that we're our own undoing, all because of white supremacy. It all comes back to white supremacy. And, the feeling that only white males can come up with ideas and be in charge and help move us forward when we are a nation of immigrants. Right? Like, I just don't understand the fear. Like I said to you yesterday, me and my contemporaries don't sit around discussing how we can re-enslave and recapture white people and get them to work on our farm. We're not concerned about that. Right? We've moved on from that. Nobody's thinking about payback. Right? How would you begin to get payback on white America? All you can do is be a part of a system that allows you to participate. And that's big. That's all I would want for me, my family, my kids. That's all I would want. Hey, allow us to participate, allow our talent to dictate what kind of opportunities we do and don't get. Don't worry about the color of my skin. Worry about whether or not I can do the job. Worry about whether or not I have the income to pay back the loan, right? I'll never forget. My dad was buying a car and he was paying cash for it in this must have been 82. And we went down to White Plains to the Nissan dealership. He kept going down there. My dad had made 3 or 4 trips and he says, hey, the car's in. Do you want to come take a ride with me? He was buying a Toyota 300 ZX. And I said, yeah, absolutely. Because I wanted to ride in it, right? I wanted to drive it. We go down there and my dad is upset. This is like his 4th trip down to White Plains, 35 minutes, 40 minutes each way. And he says, yo, why isn't my car here? And, I've come down here 3 or 4 times. You said it was ready. And, my car's not here. Goes back, talks to the manager, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it'll be here this weekend. My dad says, you know what? Cancel my order. I don't want it. I don't want it. And the guy says, well, let me ask you this. How can you afford to buy this car and pay cash for it? And he said, man, I'm out of here. Cancel my order. Give me back my down payment. And, he put down a deposit to get the car, got the cash money back, and he went and bought a Toyota Supra. And, I've never seen him more annoyed. And I was like, and it didn't really hit me until years later we talked about it. And I was like, Dad, that car salesman really kind of slighted you, huh? He thought you couldn't afford that car. He never thought you had the money to buy that car. He said, yeah, that's kind of what I thought. They thought I wouldn't come up with the entire amount of the cash for the car. And so they just, never ordered the car, but the car never came. And, why do you care? If you're that car salesman, why do you care? My dad had, several graduate degrees. He worked as an administrator. He worked 2 jobs. My dad worked 2 jobs for as long as I can remember.
You told me the story the other day, right, of the woman who accosted a white woman who accosted a black woman in Walmart because the black woman had more stuff in her cart, right? But I kind of saw it articulated today because there's an ex-Jan Sixer who's with DHS in Dallas, and they kind of unmasked his Twitter account or something. So, they figured out who it was, right? Because he had one of those fake handles, which drives me nuts, right? That people aren't out there as themselves, right? And in it, he basically had a sort of a manifesto on there basically saying that, America is a white country. And in the end, basically the last line, I don't have the exact quote, is sort of, and for the advantage and favoritism of white people. So it just got me it kind of articulated the thought, what I've been saying, but I couldn't figure out how to really get it across. It's yeah, there's a lot of white people, more than I thought, that don't view America as a country that's supposed to be equal. They view America as a country where they're supposed to be advantaged.
Right.
America is supposed to be for their benefit and their advantage as white people, because it's a very often, let's say, a white Christian nation, right? Because then they go from color and even bring religion into it to decide who to whose advantage the country should be. But that's the problem you run into when you say you just want to participate and you want to be on, quote, equal footing, and you want, a fair shot and the like. You're butting up against a lot of white America that doesn't want that. Equality is not enough for them. They're expecting advantage, be it from the systems, from the government, from just the day-to-day interactions in society. They're expecting an advantage. They're expecting more in their cart. The analogous, they're expecting more in their cart.
Right. And that's really disappointing.
I did it to you again. I got you. I beat you down again. I know you're trying to be optimistic. Beat you down again.
You got me
disappointing.
Again.
It is disappointing because it's not to the words on the page and freedom and justice for all and equal and land of opportunity and all the bullshit we get fed. To me this is a fight against that mentality, that belief.
Right.
That there's a group within America, generally white men, like you laid it out, that expect and feel they deserve to be advantaged in society. So no one can catch up to them ever, because they're ordained to have more.
And I don't see that mentality has to be passed down from generation to generation.
Yeah,
that's not something, we talk about in mixed company, right?
Look at the Trump family.
Right.
It's been passed down from generation to generation. You think his kids don't think that way?
Right.
You think their kids aren't going to think that way?
You're absolutely right.
So he just gives us an obvious example of a family that would just roll along,
right,
thinking that way.
Latino families don't think that way. I've had numerous conversations with Latino business owners that talk about, all we teach our kids is how to work hard, how to start businesses, right? But you see it. You see it. They work, right? And I had a gentleman who was at my house. We got to talking one day. He one of the nicest human beings I had ever met. And we got into a little bit of a political discussion, and he talked about, the companies that he owned. He prayed for me and my injury. And his son was the one who asked me if we could pray for me. And it was one of the most enlightening conversations I had because they talked about how important the church was to them. They talked about how important the work ethic was to them. Matter of fact, the dad's arm and shoulder was in a cast. He was like coming from surgery the day before. And he had still, shown up to see what kind of work we needed done. And, and I was like, what are you doing here? Like, you just got off a surgeon's table, and he's like, no, this is what we do. This is what we do. And, I was so impressed with him and his son. I just said, I'm going to tell everybody I know about you, right? Because word of mouth is how, small business works. And he was such an impressive human being. And when he talked about the ideals that he held close to his heart, it was all centered on being humble, on hard work, on, belief in a higher power and belief in mankind, right? Because he wasn't, now at this time, this was prior to the election. So, he wasn't ready to throw Trump under the bus just yet, right? He still kind of was buying into what Trump was saying. So, he was trusting in mankind, right? And I get it. Like, I don't know why they still fell for the banana in the tailpipe as a community, but I get it.
Well, I guess I'm a little frustrated with the Latino community. I mean, I see a story today about GOP politicians, GOT Latinos, right? Which already I'm like, okay, I get it. Maybe some of it's abortion, religion, like what attracted, them to the Republican Party to begin with.
Right.
I get it. Maybe back in the George Jeb Bush era, I could see it. Okay.
Sure.
Trump comes along. Okay. The GOP, they're starting to question, to question the Trump policies because the deportations aren't as advertised because it was supposed to be just focused on the criminals and not just, in essence, rank and file Latinos that are here in the company. So there's so they're just coming around to it, right? 7 months of deportation, like 3,000 a day, and all these roundups. Right. And some on the GOP starting to question it. But I'll take it for now, right? Because they're maybe peeling away from Trump, and everyone's feeling a little more emboldened to say things.
Right.
But it just frustrates me. You talk about the hardworking Latinos, this and that. I just that whole mentality of those who did it the right way versus others, like why aren't they more protective of even the migrant workers? Yeah, they know they don't have the right papers. They know that they didn't come the right way, but they know they're out there busting their ass 10, 12, 14 hours a day in the hot sun just to get money to send back home. Like, they're not impacting anyone else's life negatively. Like, why aren't they just in greater support for their brethren? And how have they all not turned on Trump and his policies faster?
Well, did you hear what Trump said about the Latinos on CNBC today? Oh, they just work. You know,
Of the bad back.
What happens if they get a bad back? They don't, so they just die. And then his nod to the Negro in America was, these people in the inner cities, they're just not doing the work. They don't do the work. Oh, the people in the inner cities, who you talking about there, Donald? What part of the inner city you talking about? The black part or the Upper East Side?
Okay.
I mean, the things that are coming out of his mouth now are like the old uncle who has no filter, who can't control, can't remember anything, who walks around on the White House roof and who wanders and needs one of those life alert bracelets in case he falls down.
And all the worst impulses come out because you can't
buddy.
suppress them. Okay, I didn't realize that was CNBC. I saw the quote about, these undocumented workers don't get bad backs because if they do, they would die, which I think he chuckled, right? That was
right.
He laughed about that. And then, but the inner city, aka black people, won't now leave the city to go out to the farms to work the fields now that all the Latinos are being kicked out of the country, which is
right.
Sort of the domino play that Trump thought that he was engineering, right? We're going to kick all these people out. We're going to send these people out to work on the farm 16, 18 hours a day, where if they hurt their back, they're dead. And we're just going to pull them out of their homes because who cares about any of these people anyway, right? Which is the overarching message from Trump.
No doubt. And, it's really pathetic, that we as Americans look to this guy for some kind of leadership. What kind of fucking leadership can this guy provide? He's never been a leader. He's always been a clown. All you had to do was ask anybody in the tri-state area, right? How many millions of people, Brock, live in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut that can tell you this guy's an idiot, right? Remember his famous comments about the Native Americans and the casinos? I mean, the guy has always been a jackass, right? A scumbag, for a lack of better term. I mean, he hasn't offered New York anything. Remember his first election, he got 10% of the vote in his precinct, right? 90% of the people who know him the best said, fuck him. I'm not voting for him.
That's that same other 10% that's also on the Epstein list that doesn't want
to Exactly.
But you see, it's getting harder and harder for his cronies and minions to support him. That congressman in Nebraska tried to do a town hall last night. He just got chewed up and spit out, right? Like he couldn't.
Did you see the line? Did you see the line around the building?
People took the day off just to be there, and then they just crushed them, right? They just wanted to get their rage out, but they're hitting on now the spending, right? Now it's like all this egregious spend, like how much. I think the great quote that came out of it is like, how much do we have to spend on fascism, right?
Right.
Because hey, we can't afford our groceries, but we got plenty of money to spend on fascism and detention centers. So wait a minute, which is a very white crowd, right? It was Nebraska.
Yep.
Once again, getting mad at things that maybe we wouldn't expect, or maybe I would. I'll speak for myself. Like I wouldn't have expected that's what would enrage them.
Yep. But look, you're in deep red Nebraska. beef country, a lot of farming country. I mean, that's all they do in Nebraska,
Yeah, I
right?
drove through it. You don't see shit
You
except for
don't see shit except cornfields, meat packing plants, and more of the same, right? That's what they do. Those are the people who they lost, who now, cannot run their businesses effectively, right? And Trump doesn't give a shit because he can't even relate to that kind of business, right? This guy's never been outside fucking the five boroughs. He never been anywhere, right? Since he's been president, first time he's been any fucking where. You never hear him with a global view about anything, Brock. And now he wants to build a $200 million ballroom because the Saudis have it. He let his wife destroy the rose. Did you
yeah,
see the?
yeah.
My
It's
God.
it's a parking lot.
Oh
It's
my
a
God.
parking lot. But Mark, at what point? Because we're starting to see where right, Marjorie Taylor Greene peels away. We talked about it yesterday. We think Trump's in decline. Charlemagne poked the bear 2 days ago. May have really hit the nail on the head about MAGA losing hold of the GOP.
That's still
I,
festering.
I guess I wasn't even thinking about it when I referenced those Latino GOP politicians who are starting to get frustrated with the deportation policy. So at what point does MAGA is there enough weakness in Trump's hand where these Republican politicians stop worrying about his ability to primary them and they start talking up against him because they're realizing his policies are going to get them bounced out of office. So
No
they got to
doubt.
stop fearing the primary so much because they can't
Right.
win a general. Like
Right.
when did they start talking out against Trump? When did they start directly confronting his policies and in essence his idiocy? Because his idiocy it's not popular. They can all read the polls.
Right. And I think that was the other thing he said on the CNBC interview. My polls are actually in the 70s, the highest ever. Dude is delusional. But I think that happens, Brock, when the dam finally breaks on the Epstein files. Once we see, because at some point they've got to do something, right? They're just going to sit here saying 4 years. Yeah, you guys need to move on. Barack Hussein Obama.
They might try. They might
I,
try to just
I
run out
don't
the
know
clock
how.
and hope it goes away.
I don't know how. I think crazy QAnon will get us,
Okay.
enough pressure. And when the dam breaks, it may not be soon. It may be later rather than sooner. But when the dam breaks, I think that's when all hell breaks loose within the party. And like Charlemagne intimated, that might be the opportunity for the Grahams, McConnells, and, old school conservatives to hijack their party back.
Yeah, I'm thinking of maybe
We'll have to
the
see.
younger guys. Is it more like Josh Hawley or I'm just wondering who's in the younger generation
Josh
that
Hawley
may
scares the
talk
shit.
up against him. I mean, is it like I don't know, Tom Cotton still around? Do they even have any
Oh,
young people in office? I mean,
Tom
they have
Cotton's.
an old white group of people. Yeah, I don't even know who it would be. Maybe someone we're not thinking about. Maybe it's some of these governors start making a lot
Yeah,
of noise. Okay, so that's what you think. You still think it triggers on the Epstein files as being
sure.
the battering ram that just breaks all
Or
hell loose.
Or the other thing, quick hit, before we wrap up, we could see something around these gerrymandering fights. I just want the Democrats to fight like hell. The GOP has handed you this shit on a silver platter. The redistricting, cheating, gerrymandering. Take a look at what's the veteran with the patch, Dan Crenshaw. Dan Crenshaw's district. It looks like a jigsaw puzzle drawn by a 2-year-old. Okay? He has absolutely chosen his voters, not chosen to represent an area of Texas. It's disgusting. So if we see Hochul and we see Newsom come out, redrawing, districts, adding 20 seats to the Democratic side of the ledger, I mean, that may make the dam break. We just need something, right, to push this thing over the edge, to get that tender box lit and to watch this whole thing explode in Trump's face. He's never going to remember it anyway. He can't remember, the ham sandwich he had for lunch or the burger he threw up against the wall yesterday. But, I mean, we've got to get something because he's got no clue. And the rest of these people are looking to him for guidance. So, if the military has to take over a military operation or a martial law operation, it's over, right? We've still got enough military people in there who are not going to fire upon American citizens who want their republic back.
I mean, Texans have taken so much shit. Ted Cruz is in Cancun and they can't even get energy. A couple years ago, the fucking flood from a couple of weeks ago,
The electric grid, they can't get air conditioning down there.
and they have these same jokers running the show down there. Abbott wheeling around, fucking Paxton is like a fucking getting indicted left and right, and now who knows what shit's going on behind the scenes with him. Like, they have the worst leadership, right, across the board, but they're just taking it. They're just taking it, right? And they keep voting these same people in, right? They keep voting against good people like Beto O'Rourke and Colin Allred.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of like the same shit goes on down there. So we'll see.
So we got to touch on that tomorrow. They've calling for, the arrests of those Democrats who have fled, to avoid having a quorum. What else are they supposed to do? There's no reasoning with these, with the MAGA crowd in Texas. So, hopefully they won't find him anytime soon, and Gavin Newsom, Kathy Hochul, look, they've still got 3 years, 3.5 years, to get it done. But that gives Newsom and Hochul.
No, they got to do it before the midterms.
Oh, right. 26.
So it's got to be by next year, early next year.
Yeah. So they're up against the clock a little
bit. They're both talking. They're talking a really strong game right now. So that helps.
Yeah. Yep. All right, buddy. Another great Tuesday.
All right, Mark. Always a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Bye.
Peace.